I know that the reason that I'm working in solar energy and the solar industry is because I'm gravely concerned about our future, and I feel like anything we can do to accelerate our transition to a different energy model, we should all be working on that as much as possible. Although that's obviously not the only thing that matters, as we heard from other presenters. We need to do a lot more on food security. Back when I was a lawyer in private practice, I represented the Sierra Club in the LUC hearings on the whole Coa Ridge mess, and it was so disheartening to be in front of that panel and to cross-examine the people in the state who were responsible for our transportation policy, for our food policy, and to hear every single one of those people have absolutely no idea what was important. The traffic from the I'm digressing a little bit, but I want to digress while the PowerPoint's getting ready. The traffic from the west side was they used A through F criteria to decide, what kind of traffic is acceptable, and that traffic was, this is several years ago, was at level F, it's the worst possible level. So their solution is it's okay to add more cars to that mess. It's okay to have families wake up, at 4:45 in the morning and try to get their kids to school downtown. There is no awareness at that level of decision making, and that's only now starting to improve. So it's going to be part of what this presentation is all about, actually, is how do we bring urgency into the government level decision making in our state, and how do we hopefully take that urgency and have it affect other governments in other parts of the world. So to move into, the next clip here. Just pressing buttons. Oh, thanks. Or maybe not.
Here we go. There we go.
Okay. Great. So specifically regarding energy policy, I don't have I did all these slides on Microsoft Word, so they're not as fancy as some of the previous slides, but it really rests with the PUC right now, the Public Utility Commission in our state. That is the focal point for energy policy in this state. Now the governor and the legislature, as other branches of government that have tremendous impact on this, can have enormous impact on the PUC, and we need to encourage them to have impact on the PUC, but fundamentally it's going to rest with the PUC to make most of the decisions that will affect all of us in the most significant way. Now unfortunately, the Hawaii PUC right now is significantly overworked. This is an article that ran in the Advertiser recently, and it was comparing Hawaii to Nevada. Hawaii's been doing a lot more work than Nevada. And last year, it did a little over 800 orders issued, and in Nevada, they had a little over 600 orders issued. But Hawaii was struggling through that workload with a lot fewer people. And they have only around 40 people working in the PUC right now. They actually have authorization for up to 65 positions, but they haven't been filling those positions, probably because they've been so overworked and trying to just get things done that are on their plate in front of them. In Nevada, currently there are over 80 people working and they're doing less work. We really need to dramatically increase the number of people, and also not just the number of people, we need to bring in very high quality people into the Public Utility Commission. Hawaii Utilities, HECO, testified before the legislature not too long ago on the mess that basically they caused primarily regarding the interconnection of solar systems in this state. And they were asked, well, what do we do about this? How do we fix this problem? What are the next steps? And one of the Hawaii executives ultimately simply admitted to the panel, I'm no expert. This was the chief engineer, the guy running the Hawaii HECO operations for solar interconnections, for operations. He's admitted he is not an expert. What they were doing to try to solve that problem and bring in more expertise is they brought in an industry-connected PhD, the guy who Colton Ching admitted was very, very young. He's a PhD, but a very, very young PhD, and they brought him in for the summer. He was a summer intern. One guy. So, I mean, that's ridiculous. Like that level of commitment and resource is absolutely crazy at this point in time. We need to solve this problem for HECO. We cannot rely on HECO to try to figure out how to take us to the next phase in our energy policy here in Hawaii. We need to bring in people into the PUC who understand these things far better than HECO does and are able to push forward solutions that will actually work for our state. And actually, we have the other advantage, really, because we are in this place with such high electricity. We've got some of these feedback loops that Jeff is talking about. They're more automatic to us than they are to a lot of people in the United States. We see our HECO bills, and a lot of people are looking at bills that are over $1,000 a month, and they're saying, oh my God, like how did this happen? You know, how am I possibly paying this much for electricity? And you know, they start to think about ways to reduce that cost, whether they're buying solar panels for their house or solar water heating, or thinking very seriously about efficiency and using less power. So we have this advantage of being in a very hot cauldron, where we're still kind of a frog that doesn't know what's going on, but we're in hotter water than most, and we may start to find solutions to a lot of the same problems that are occurring in other electricity grids throughout the country. We may find those solutions faster. And if we really dedicate ourselves to finding the solutions faster, we may make an enormous outsized impact on the rest of the country and perhaps even the world. We've already done this in a number of ways, and we can continue. So really, what we absolutely need to convey to our elected representatives is we need to convey that they need a sense of urgency. They desperately need to start working harder and faster on solving these problems. And it's not just because of all the, no, it is primarily because of all of the issues that we've been hearing about tonight. And we simply cannot wait any longer and keep doing the same thing. But we also have this 2016 number down here, which is very important in the solar industry and for the state in terms of how quickly we can transition. That's the year that the federal 30% tax credit expires for solar energy. And as we all can see from what's happening in our national legislature and national political structure, there isn't a lot of concern about renewable energy and climate change yet, overall. I think the guy in the Senate who's going to take over since the Republicans took over the Senate, Inhofe, is a classic climate change denier. I mean, the guy he writes books about how it doesn't exist, which at this point is literally like he's the president of the Flat Earth Society and every other society that is obviously wrong. So in 2016, between now and then, if we accelerate our adoption of solar energy and other renewable energies that qualify for this federal credit, this is the time to do it. If we're going to have perhaps a little dip, a natural dip that will occur because that feedback loop won't be quite as automatic. If it becomes more expensive for people to adopt renewable energy, they won't do it as quickly. So we need to accelerate our process here. Now, what can we do just in the solar world, since that's what I'm mostly involved in? We can do solar farms, which are very low impact to lands. You put these on D&E quality ag lands in Hawaii that you can't grow much of anything anyway. You can actually still have sheep graze underneath them and around them. And we have much more opportunity to do this. We are starting to see some acceleration in the next 2 years of this. So this is actually, we've got some progress on this. Solar covered parking. Everywhere you see cars parked out in the sun, they should be covered by solar covered parking. And there isn't any reason why we shouldn't be doing this all around the state right now. It has all kinds of benefits, not just keeping us a little cooler or underneath. It produces a lot of this extra renewable energy, and it'll also reduce the kind of heat island effect of all the sun hitting the asphalt and warming things up around that area. You can expand the solar covered parking to turn them into charging stations. This is happening, it's a great multiplier effect on your impact. Let's increase the number of electric cars we have dramatically. That impacts the transportation part, which is 30% of our energy use, as Jeff said. we need to push this much faster than we're pushing it already and help people adopt this technology. And then residential solar, we should continue to expand our use of residential solar, obviously, to the greatest possible extent. There's testing now underway at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory in California, and those tests are proving that the inverter technology, the inverters, as most of you probably know, are what takes the energy that the solar panels are capturing and converts it to usable form. Those can solve most of the concerns that HECO has about managing the grid, and we simply need to get HECO to acknowledge it, and then actually really to get the PUC to simply issue orders to direct HECO on how to proceed and what the process should be of allowing people to interconnect. Now, in terms of our company, just to speak for a second about Revolusun, in part, inspired by the slowdown in the industry from HECO, and in part our own recognition of what's going on, we're going to be expanding our own offerings, and I think a lot of other companies are going to start doing this as well, and I encourage all of you who have knowledge of construction and agriculture and other things to start thinking about not just working in your own area, but expanding and making a bigger difference. So at Revolusun, one of my partners is an architect, another has been in building industry for many years. We're going to be working as hard as we can over the next year to start actually getting into new home construction and home remodeling and promoting net zero houses. Houses that don't just save energy, but also actually sustain most of their own water use. You can do that right now with existing technology, so the house will take care of 80% of the water that it needs. You can also take care of all of its energy usage. And you can start building houses more intelligently so they require much less cooling. Some places, we don't need any heating, thankfully in Hawaii, but you can build them so just inherently they require much less cooling. So we're going to be expanding into that, and we're also going to be offering a whole host of products in January that start to chip away at usage. One last point here. I'd really like us to all focus on trying to make sure liquid natural gas doesn't come to Hawaii. That is just a completely crazy thing for us to think about doing. We don't have the money to change all of our infrastructure that exists now for the oil and diesel into natural gas infrastructure and then think that somehow the price is going to stay low so people are going to save money. But that's really the only it's only an economic consideration going on. But even if you were just doing an economic analysis, if you did a really serious one, and you looked at all the other alternatives, and what I don't have up here are some of the actually big ones like efficiency, and other things like seawater air conditioning. But if you look at all of the other alternatives of transitioning our energy infrastructure, if you put money into that, and you compare it to how much money we'd have to put into switching to LNG, you're going to save money doing it the renewable way and doing it the efficiency way. And so we need to do this sort of analysis and just completely trample and eliminate the argument that somehow it's going to be beneficial to us economically. But beyond the economic thing, as we've all heard, we absolutely have to push the scale towards carbon neutrality. We have to get there, and replacing oil with liquid natural gas is not going to address that carbon neutrality issue. So I encourage you, please, the focus of this discussion mostly is energy policy and how we interact with our government and what our government can do. Please encourage your legislature, encourage the governor to adopt a sense of urgency, to make these changes faster, to do more to accelerate our transition. And you can do that by raising your voices as loud as possible in as many ways as you can. So thank you very much for your time.